Hello, everyone. Well, whoever is watching, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is. Hello, everyone. Well, one second. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. All right. Let's try that again. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussion 76, Entertainment and Media. I know that's a long name. I was telling a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago that with all of my YouTube channels, I've used a house of brands approach. So all of my channels fit under the umbrella of Big Discussion 76. That's called a house of brands approach. And as I was getting ready for this live stream, I was thinking that I need to get on my brother to create a logo for this channel, because he created a Big Discussions logo, and he also created a Big Discussions sports logo as well. But the Science channel and this Entertainment and Media channel don't have their own logos. But anyway, so this is Big Discussions 76, Entertainment and Media. I don't know who all is coming through for this one. I expect that there will be more people watching this on the playback as opposed to live. This is my smallest YouTube channel, and there's room for growth here. There's a reason why I created this one, and it's my smallest channel. But recently, this channel went over 100 subscribers. And I think, I want to thank everyone who has subscribed. And I want to thank BGS, the master teacher, for sharing my review of Coming to America 2. Every time BGS shares something in his network, it gets a boost. And I just want to say I appreciate him for that. BGS, if you're watching. And I also want to appreciate everyone who watched that and everyone who subscribed. One guy actually complimented my Avengers t-shirt, and I actually have quite a few right now. I'm wearing a Black Panther t-shirt here. And I created a video commemorating passing 100, which in YouTube isn't a big number, but it's a milestone nonetheless. And in that video, I stated, what's going on, Lee Ali? Thank you for stopping through. I don't know who's coming through for this, but yeah, his roots go back to Africa. I'm going to read all that once I get into the meat and potatoes of this live stream. What I wanted to say, and what I said in that video commemorating this channel getting to 100 subs, is that the one thing I don't have over here that I have over on my original channel, my sports channel, and my science channel is I don't have any collaborators over here. So take, for example, one of the fanboy media movie channels I like in this space is the Critical Drinker. Well, the Critical Drinker, he makes bomb content on his own as he reviews movies. He has his own rhythm, he has his own jokes, and he has his own stuff. But he has collaborators. So the Critical Drinker will sit in a live stream with other collaborators and just review, for example, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. They'll review The Fifth Element. They'll review movies. Well, I don't have any collaborators over here. So if there's anyone who's watching this live or on the playback, and you have an interest in media, whether it's movies, whether it's books, whether it's cartoons like the Transformers, contact me, hit me up, and let's collaborate on a live stream. My contact info is here. Use that email address, bigdiscuss76 at Big Words Are Powerful. I know that's a mouthful, but I also have a Big Words blog site Facebook page, and that's my Twitter, Big Words Are Powerful, and I have an Instagram as well. Speaking of the Transformers, this is the second live stream I've ever done on this channel. I spend more time on the other channels. I want to change that, and because I'm writing a book, and since this channel deals with media, this channel has certain built-in applications for me as an author. And I'm also creating a website for authors, which I'm going to unveil pretty soon. But this is the second live stream I've done on this channel. I plan to do more. And the thing is, I was thinking about doing a pre-record on celebrating Yaphet Kotto. But the thing with pre-records is pre-records, they take time. You have to shoot it. You have to edit it. You have to drop all your pictures in, make sure all the fades are right. And it's just more work. Pre-records, even no matter how short they are, they can be more work. So I decided to do this in a live stream. Before I jump in, I'm going to jump in because I see some people came in and some people left. If you're watching this, please click the like. Please share as well. But please, if you're going to come through and at least watch for a minute or so, please click the like. So in any case, this live stream is going to be a remembrance and a celebration of the life and career of Mr. Yaphet Kotto. And this live stream is my second recognition or celebration of an entertainer who's passed away. Actually, no. This will be the third because I did Jerry Stiller, who played Frank Costanza in the Seinfeld TV show, classic character, Frank Costanza. I also did something here on Chadwick Boseman when Chadwick Boseman passed away. And so now I'm going to do something on Yaphet Kotto, and I'm going to describe being a Gen Xer, a late Gen Xer, born in the mid-'70s. I'm going to describe how at least one of Yaphet Kotto's roles is now baked into my psyche. So with that, I found three short articles on Yaphet Kotto. And I'm going to read those, and then I'm going to talk about the movie and the role, which is forever baked into my psyche. And I'm going to discuss why, and I'm going to try to get this done within an hour. I want to thank Lee Ali for commenting. And the fact, I'm going to show these again. Damn, I didn't know he was a son of the Crown Prince of Cameroon, the real life coming to America. And he also said, rest in power to Yaphet Kotto. I didn't know all that about Yaphet Kotto myself, but I read the articles last night, and I learned that his roots were from Cameroon. But I did, whenever I heard his name, he's got a name like mine. I have an Arabic name. But I said to myself, okay, well, he's not from here. Where's he from? Well, let's learn a little bit about Mr. Yaphet Kotto. Let's see, I'm going to enable my screen share here. And we're going to look at the CNN article first. And when someone like this passes away, and so what I realized, one of the reasons I started this channel is I realized that movies and media and cinema and cartoons and TV shows and books and music, those are all parts of our lives. Those help bookmark or designate seasons in our lives. And you remember where you were when you saw Yaphet Kotto in Live or Let Die. You remember where you were when you saw Yaphet Kotto play Parker in Alien. And so, media, it has so many importances and relevances in our lives, but that's one of the reasons why I started this, because it has so much meaning for us. So I'm going to read this article. It's a short piece from CNN, and it reads, and that's a picture of Yaphet in the second half of his life. This reads, Yaphet Kotto, an actor known for bringing gravitas to his roles across television and film, has died, according to his agent. Ryan Goldar. I'm going to blow this up for myself here. I minimized it for you guys, but I'm going to blow it up for myself. Oh, by the way, and I'm going to talk about this when I get done. This the wallpaper, is that what the background for this? That's Yaphet in his role as Parker in Alien, and as I'll describe, that's the scene right there where we first saw one of the aliens burst through the chests of a human. So that's Yaphet Kotto as Parker. That's Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. And that, of course, is Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley. So that's what that, for those of you who are millennials or zillennials and yet you never saw the original Alien movie, that's what that is. Okay, back to the article. Okay, Kotto died on March 14th at 10:30 p.m. local time in the Philippines, where he lived with his wife, Goldar said. Information on the cause of death was not provided. Kotto's on-screen body of work began in the late 1960s and remained steady through the 1990s. In that time, he amassed an array of memorable roles that spoke to his transformative talent. His notable film work includes roles in Alien, The Running Man. I forgot until I read this article that he was actually in The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he was in there, and Richard Dawson. Midnight Run and Live and Let Die, in which he played iconic Bond villain Mr. Big. So Mr. Big. So there was a Mr. Big before Carrie Bradshaw's Mr. Big on Sex and the City, it seems. In television, his longest running role was as Lieutenant Al Giardello in NBC's Homicide: Life on the Street. That might be Giardello or Giardello. Yaphet Kotto, my mom's favorite director Ava DuVernay, wrote on Twitter, he's one of those actors who deserved more than the parts he got, but he took those parts and made them wonderful all the same. A star, rest well, sir. Television producer David Simon added memories and respect for Yaphet Kotto, whose film career was legend even before he came to Baltimore to grace our television drama. But for me, he'll always be Al Giardello. I'm going to pronounce it Giardello. The unlikeliest Sicilian, okay, so it's an Italian name, gently pulling down the office blinds to glower at detectives in his squadron. Okay, so that's that article. And again, I forgot that he played in The Running Man. That was a part of Arnold's. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a distinct run of movies in the 80s and the 90s, and The Running Man and Commando and the first Predator. Those were all a part of that run of movies. Okay, so let me go to the second article here. And of course, Richard Dawson, I mentioned him. He used to host The Family Feud long before Steve Harvey did. Let's see. The New York Times article. Yaphet Kotto, Bond villain and Alien star, dies at 81. Well known for playing hardened personalities, he was also seen in movies like Midnight Run and the TV show Homicide: Life on the Street. This picture here, this is the picture I used for the thumbnail. And that's another iconic picture of him on the set of Alien as Parker, Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley. And that right there in the background, the guy with the beard, that's Tom Skerritt, who's been in a number of movies himself. And it looks like they were between shoots here because I can see one of the behind the scenes workers there in that little passageway on the Nostromo, which is the spaceship they were on in the movie. Okay. So this is by Neil Genslinger. Yaphet Kotto, a versatile actor whose many roles included the wisecracking engineer in the hit science fiction film Alien, the villainous adversary in the James Bond movie Live and Let Die, and police lieutenant on the long-running television series Homicide: Life on the Street. Died on Monday near Manila. He was 81. So Yaphet, he lived a long life, because for most Black men, I think our life expectancy is our early 70s. So he lived a nice long life. And the other thing before I go on is, whenever someone like this dies, someone who was there when you were a child, someone you've seen on the silver screen, for me, it's always a little bit jolting and a little bit sobering. I mean, we know from the Green Mile, we all have a debt to pay, but it's always a little bit sobering to see someone like this pass away. But he did live a long life for a man. His agent, Ryan Goldar, confirmed the death, but said he did not know the cause. Mr. Kotto had lived in the Philippines for some years. Mr. Kotto worked mostly in the theater for the first decade or so of his career. His bodily size made him a dominating figure in any sort of role, though it tended to bring him parts as a heavy. I'm always called powerful, bulky, or imposing, he told the Baltimore Sun in 1993 when Homicide: Life on the Street made its debut. Or they say I fill up a room. I'm a 200-pound, 6'3" Black guy. And I think I have this image of a monster. It's very difficult. And there's a picture of him there in Homicide. In 1969, still largely unknown, he had the formidable task of replacing James Earl Jones on Broadway, in The Great White Hope, Howard Sackler's drama based on the life of the boxer Jack Johnson. Mr. Jones had won a Tony Award for his portrayal of the lead character, who in the play is named Jack Jefferson. Mr. Kotto stepped into the role as the production entered its second year, and Clive Barnes, taking a fresh look at the show in the New York Times, was impressed. I had never even heard of the Hollywood-based Mr. Kotto, he wrote, but luckily someone had, for this is inspired casting, and Mr. Kotto will never be unheard of again. It was 2 decades before he returned to the stage. And again, it was something of a shadow to Mr. Jones, who had received another Tony playing Troy Maxson in August Wilson's Fences in 1987. Mr. Kotto tackled the role in 1990 at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C., again, drawing raves. That's right here. Arena Stage, that's over in D.C. in Southwest. But I shot a little review of Fences as well, the Denzel Washington, Viola Davis movie version. Setting the tone throughout is the thunderous Mr. Kotto, Hap Erskine wrote of that production in the Washington Times. A caged animal pacing the backyard, a bullying brute more expressive with his hands than his words. Away from the theater for many years, pursuing film and TV work, he makes a scorching return to the stage. And that's him right there with Roger Moore in Live and Let Die. In between those stage appearances, 2 movie roles in the 1970s particularly elevated Mr. Kotto's profile. The first, in 1973, was in Live and Let Die, with Roger Moore's debut as James Bond. Mr. Kotto played his chief nemesis, a dual role in which he was both a corrupt Caribbean dictator and that character's alter ego, a drug trafficker named Mr. Big. In 1979 came Alien, Ridley Scott's outer space horror classic, in which Mr. Kotto's character Parker was part of a spaceship crew doing battle with a nasty extraterrestrial creature. The combination punch for my career of Live and Let Die and Alien was like wham bam, he told the Canadian press in 2003, adding that those wildly different roles showcased his versatility. I think the only other person who has a combination like that is Harrison Ford. Yaphet Kotto was born on November 15th, 1939 in Harlem and grew up in the Bronx. His father, he told the Baltimore Jewish Times in 1995, was from Cameroon and jumped ship as a merchant seaman, ending up in New York. His mother, he said, was of Panamanian and West Indian descent. His father had adopted Judaism, and his mother was Roman Catholic. There's a bit of a clash there. The couple separated when Mr. Kotto was a child, and he was raised by his maternal grandparents. So when you look at Yaphet Kotto, he looks, in terms of his facial features, he does look like he's from Africa or the Caribbean in terms of his dark skin and just his facial features. Mr. Kotto said his career path was set by a fateful trip to the movies. One day when I was about 16, I walked into this theater showing on the waterfront, and I saw Marlon Brando for the first time, he told the Orange County Register of California in 1994. I couldn't speak. It was like somebody had punched me in the stomach. It was like someone had crashed cymbals in both ears. I was blasted out of the theater. I knew from that moment that I wanted to be an actor. The actress Julie Holliday saw him in a stage production and became a mentor, he said, moving me around like furniture, telling me what to eat. He said his knowledge of Yiddish earned him his only other Broadway credit in 1965 in the 1965 production of The Zulu and the Zeta, a comedy about a Jewish grandfather who settles in South Africa. Mr. Kotto received an Emmy nomination for his performance as Idi Amin, the Ugandan strongman in 1977, in the 1977 television movie Raid on Entebbe. He appeared opposite Robert Redford in the prison movie Brubaker in 1980. In the 1988 action comedy Midnight Run, starring Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin, he played the FBI agent Alonzo Mosley, whose stolen ID becomes fodder for a running joke. And in The Running Man, a dystopian 1987 thriller set in what was then the near future 2019, Mr. Kotto played a resistance fighter alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger in a fascist version of America. Okay, now how prophetic is that? As it's being speculated, well, number 45, Don Cheeto, he was called a fascist, but what's happening with big tech and the mainstream media, some would also argue that we're headed towards a bit of a fascist state. I'm going to read this comment here. Tasha, greetings everyone. Hey Tasha, thank you for coming through, hon. I'm doing a little live on remembering Yaphet Kotto, and Tasha's out west, so I'm sure she spent lots of time in Hollywood and the studios. I'll just call them the studios. So let me get back to this. And The Running Man was also one of my favorite childhood movies as well. Pretty much anything Arnold made, Arnold's physique was at its peak at that point. And The Running Man is one of my favorite movies from that golden age of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies. Now, I didn't know this. Mr. Kotto married 3 times, Mr. Goldar said. He and Tessa Sinahan, who was from the Philippines, married in 1988. A full list of survivors was not immediately available. Mr. Kotto was always conscious of the image projected by his roles, something that led him to reject certain ones. I was offered a part in Glory, a 1989 movie about a black company commanded by a white officer in the Civil War, which I refused because for me it purported to be about a black experience and was really about the white guy. He told the Globe and Mail of Canada in 1994. Do you see me taking orders like that? I couldn't see myself in Driving Miss Daisy either, playing the chauffeur, taking it from some old lady. Some other actor may be able to put that on and make it look real, but I couldn't do it. So that's interesting. Those are two movies that Morgan Freeman, Driving Miss Daisy and Glory. You know what? I've never watched Driving Miss Daisy. As good of a movie as it was, I never watched it. But Morgan Freeman starred in that, and he was able to pull that off with Jessica Tandy. And Morgan Freeman also played in Glory. And Glory is one of my favorite movies. But Yaphet Kotto, I guess he thought Driving Miss Daisy and Glory were not suitable roles for him, which is interesting. And this is the end. Homicide, a police series that was innovative for its time, was a career high point, running for 7 seasons. But things started off badly, Mr. Kotto said. The script was so good, and the camera work was no different than what I was used to, that I forgot my lines, he told the Register. I was really embarrassed that that had never happened to me before. But the other actors came over to me and told me the same thing happened to them. Okay. I'm going to read one more short article. Guys, give me 1 second here. Just 1 second. All right, I'm back. I had to put some chapstick on. When you're reading, your lips dry up. I'm going to stop this one. And this next article captures some words by Sigourney Weaver herself about Yaphet Kotto. And this is entitled, Sigourney Weaver recalls working with her late Alien co-star Yaphet Kotto, a Nonstop masterclass. And if any of you all are watching this live or on the playback, have never watched them, they have some really good documentaries on how they made Alien right here on YouTube. I actually have the 2-disc set right here. This shows how much I enjoyed this movie and loved this first movie. But it's really interesting the way they put the entire cast together, which I'll talk about after I read this article. Let's see. Sigourney Weaver paid tribute to her Alien co-star Yaphet Kotto on Wednesday, recalling the late actor's intensity when the two were making the iconic 1979 sci-fi thriller. Every day, Yaphet Kotto blew me away on the set of Alien, Weaver wrote in a short statement. He just went for it in every scene, making the stakes higher and higher and giving each scene a terrifying reality. It was a nonstop masterclass for me, and I will always be grateful to him. Weaver ended her remembrance with the sign-off, "Rest in peace, Parker, over and out, Ripley." Kotto, who died Monday at age 81, played Chief Engineer Dennis Parker. I never knew the first name. Dennis Parker in Alien, who almost makes it off the creature beleaguered Nostromo. But of course, Weaver's warrant officer, Ripley, is the only human to get out alive. He also saves Ripley, but ultimately is killed by the alien before they can escape, in part thanks to Parker. At the 2003 Toronto Film Festival, Kotto praised Alien and director Ridley Scott for featuring a black man and a woman in heroic roles, and also shared a movie anecdote about visiting the spot in Washington, D.C., where he'd seen Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. As he was standing with his daughter at the historic site, a tourist group of Japanese children approached him. Kotto understood only one word. Alien. Watch Kotto tell the story below. I won't play that. So that's that article. So what I'm going to do now, and I want to thank the 5 people watching this. If you haven't, please like the stream. Also, if you're watching on the playback, please like the stream, like the video as well. If you want to leave something in the tip jar, that information is below the video. So I wrote some notes down. I took a look at my copy of Alien in my DVD player. I get a Blu-ray like everybody else. And I just jotted down some notes from that movie. And I have to admit that I saw Yaphet in The Running Man, but the movie that really, really is baked into my psyche is the Alien movie, which was released in 1979. So I'm going to date myself here. That means I was only 3 years old. But so this last part of this live stream is going to be talking about Yaphet in Alien, because that's where I really, really remember him. And in that last article, they talk about him a little bit in that movie. But I'm going to give my own remembrance and take of Yaphet Kotto and Alien. So my first memories of the movie Alien, and I thought about this, I could talk a whole hour or so just on the movie Alien, but I'm going to try to focus it down to Yaphet. My first memories of the movie Alien, I'm going to show that I have some pictures here. My first memories of the movie were in the 1980s, probably approaching middle school, when I could, fathom such things. We had HBO, and HBO would they would run advertisements for the movies, and they would show still shots. And one of the still shots that they showed was the crew of the Nostromo. So I'm going to introduce the crew right now for those of you who don't remember. This was what I consider now an all-star cast. Many of these people may have been unknown at the time, but that's Yaphet Kotto right there on the left, playing Parker. That's Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. That's Tom Skerritt as Dallas, Captain Dallas. Veronica Cartwright as Lambert. That almost slipped me there. That's John Hurt as Kane. That's Ian Holm as Ash. Ian Holm was also in the Lord of the Rings trilogy as the older Bilbo Baggins. He's been in a lot of things like the Fifth Element. And that's on the end with the baseball cap. That's Harry Dean Stanton as Brett. And Parker and Brett were a bit of a pair in the movie. I have a new comment in here. My brother Amal Dunbar's here. Got to get him up here with me one day. That's my brother, everyone. My brother does all the artwork for all my stuff. So shout out to my brother Amal Dunbar. So me and my brother, we were looking at HBO, and the picture I remember seeing from HBO regarding Alien, they took a still shot of the spacesuits that Dallas, Lambert, and Kane wore out on that derelict planet when they were responding to the distress call. So they showed this when they land. It's dark and it's rainy and it's nighttime on the planet, and their spacesuits looked kind of clunky and just kind of clunky. And they had these bubble helmets, and that's what you saw. And I remember seeing the title Alien and seeing this picture. And as a child, I remember looking at that and thinking, okay, this looks kind of scary already. This looks very mysterious. It looks very scary. And then I remember on a train ride out to see my father. My father was into horror movies, and my father actually described the movie to us, and he described the xenomorph. If you're talking about Alien, you got to show the xenomorph. He described the xenomorph for the first time, and I remember my father describing describing the creature having these metal teeth and these metal-like teeth. And he was describing those teeth right there. Of course, anyone who's watched any of these movies knows that the jaws come out like this. And as a matter of fact, I think on that visit, me and my brother actually watched Alien in my dad's kitchen via VHS, and he jumped in the kitchen and actually scared us as we watched it. And I remember he kept joking, your brother almost ran out of the kitchen. I have another comment here. We have someone from my sports channel. Peanut Butter Hero says Ohio State is barely hanging on. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish this stream and take a look at the tournament in a little while, Peanut Butter Hero. But this is the media channel. Now, I also remember watching Alien maybe a year or so later. It came on CBS, I think it was. And so there were commercials in it. I remember at the beginning when that movie came on CBS put the little disclaimer at the front. This movie contains what they say, disturbing scenes, some violence. Children should not watch without parents. And so we had a VHS, and I did tape the Alien movie, and I remember watching it over and over and over again. And let's see, so I wrote down, so I showed you the crew, and I actually went back and just kind of, because Yaphet Kotto has some, as the only Black member of the crew, he had a lot of memorable lines. And the thing about this movie is that what was brilliant about it is that they had a cast of 7 characters, and probably you could make the argument that the creature itself is the star of the show. But I think what stands out and what I remember most about it is the way all the characters fit together. And Sigourney Weaver at that time, she was obviously the heroine, and that was a big deal. But Veronica Cartwright, I remember watching the documentary, she was actually the audience's fears. So she was showing the audience's fear and the audience's terror. But Parker, played by Yaphet Kotto, he was, when the movie opens up, he's humor. He's showing a lot of humor. He's very lighthearted. He's joking around with Brett. And I'm going to start this off by saying that they broke the rule in that movie, and that the running joke about movies is that the Black guy usually dies first. Well, in Alien, if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's 40 years old at this point, but Parker actually makes it through to about 3/4 of the way in the movie, and then he dies. But the characters die off in this order, and this is a spoiler. Kane, obviously he dies first because he's the first. The face hugger attaches to him. For those of you who don't know, that's the face hugger. That's a very, very critical piece of this canon. So Kane dies first. Brett dies second when they go looking for the thing, and he finds that the thing has grown in size. Dallas dies next, and then they find out Ash is an android, so he's technically not a part of the crew. He's working for the company, which I'll get to. Tasha Ray says, I need to rewatch. Haven't seen it in years. Tasha, I have this in my collection. Maybe I should get it on Blu-ray. Like my brother has a Blu-ray. I don't have a Blu-ray, but maybe I should get it on Blu-ray. But it's a classic. And some could argue that they've tanked the franchise. I think that Prometheus was a good idea. I think Prometheus was a good idea. I think that if they had taken Prometheus and showed us the origin story about where the derelict spaceship came from in the first place and where the first space jockey came from, I think that would have been a good thing. But they've taken Prometheus and they've done all kinds of things. They gave us Alien Covenant, and it's really not clear what they're doing with it. And also they also took it, and now they've merged it with the Xenomorph, with the Predator franchise. And I don't know, but the argument could be made that after the second movie, they may have tanked the entire franchise. A lot of folks didn't like the third movie with Charles S. Dutton, but I thought that movie was pretty good. I didn't I the beginning is heartbreaking because Hicks from the second movie, Hicks and Newt, they die off. But anyway, I have two more comments here. Actually, let me go to Peanut Butter Hero. Peanut Butter Hero. I've never seen the movie. I'm also in my 20s though, my mid 20s. Peanut Butter Hero, you got to watch this. Turn the lights out on a Friday or Saturday night, get some popcorn, and watch this. This is a classic. The movie Aliens, the second movie, is quality. The third movie is suspenseful. It's good, but nothing is better than this first one. So, okay. Wolf 58 says, as a kid, my brother and I rented both Alien and Apocalypse Now. It was an intense night, but I loved it. Tasha says, I like Prometheus. I liked Prometheus as well, Tasha. It was a bit ambiguous, but I think that the follow-up, there was a lot more. Ridley Scott could have taken us back to the original story, but he just, I don't know what he did. She says, true. The Origins, Alien, and the first sequel are the only worthy films in the franchise. We got a Buckeye fan here, Wolf 58. Appreciate that. And Tasha says, classic indeed. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of my notes from the first one and Yaphet's role in that. And then I'm going to conclude because we're at 42 minutes. So again, Parker starts off as a comedic figure. And again, when you watch the film, at least until halfway, he and Brett are kind of paired up together. They're a pair. And on the ship, the Nostromo is a commercial towing vehicle, and they're towing ores and metal ores back to Earth. And it's not a Star Wars ship, it's not a Star Trek ship, it's a big clunky commercial towing vessel, and it's on the inside, it's very claustrophobic. It's got all these passageways, and so Brett and Parker, those guys are the engineers. They're the blue collar workers. They're kind of the lowest tier grunts of that whole crew. And early on, they're the mechanics. So early on in the script, Parker's first words are about their salary. You know, we don't get any respect. You know, are we going to get paid? We're only getting a quarter of the share that the rest of the crew is getting. You know, so they've already got this chip on their shoulder. And then once they get the distress call, Dallas goes to Mother and gets the distress call, Parker actually says, as they're all huddled up, this is not on my contract. If you want to talk about giving me a full share, I'll go do it, but not unless I get a full share. And then that's when Ash says, it's in your contract. We have to investigate any unknown distress call, and failure to do so will result in a forfeiture of shares. So Parker's all about the money. So he switches his direction really quickly and says, okay, well, let's go to the planet. You know, in the bonus situation, the shares, all that. And then even when the search team goes out and they're on the ship, he asks Ripley, well, if they find what they're looking for, are we going to get a bonus? So for him, it's all about the money up to that point. When the search team goes out, there's a funny scene where Brett, when the ship lands on the planet, one of the landing gear hits a rock, and the ship suffers damage to its structure, to its hull, and to its ducts. And so they have to go out and find what the source of the signal, but they also have to repair the ship so they can leave. And so there's a scene where the rest of the crew is on the bridge. Parker and Brett are down looking at the damages, and Dallas is saying, okay, well, what's broken? How long is it going to take? And Harry Dean Stanton says, yeah, it's going to take 17 hours. Parker says it's going to take 27 hours. So it's funny because Brett gives this estimate that it's going to take less time, and then Parker just goes ahead and tacks on another 8 hours, and then Ripley goes down and says, "Okay, well, let me go talk to them." And then they're like, "Okay, what the fuck's she coming down? What the fuck's she coming down here for?" So when the face hugger attaches itself to, and for viewers like I think Wolf 58 or Peanut Butter Hero who've never seen it, this is what they saw, the search team, when they went out. And this is where the face hugger comes from. Those are the eggs that they found. And of course, Kane puts his head over it when it opens up, and this thing attaches to his face. And so when Ash lets them on the ship, Parker's the one who says, which probably might have saved all of them. Parker's the one who said, "Why don't you guys just freeze him? Why don't you guys just freeze him down for the rest of the journey? Why are you fooling around trying to take the thing off his face?" So Parker had it right. Just, if you're not going to get the thing off his face, just freeze his body down for the rest of the trip. But I think in subsequent movies, we saw that even when the human host is frozen down, the face hugger could still get out and get loose. But then again, once it drops its seed into the stomach of the host, the face hugger falls off anyway. Anyway, let's see. So I already talked about assessing the damages, how long till functional. Yeah, Brett said 17 hours. Parker said 25 hours. That was a funny part. As the ship's lifting off, Brett says, we're overheating on this engine over here. Parker says, "Spit on it. Why don't you?" They make it off. They fly away. Parker says, "Walk in the park," and they show Dallas smiling like, "Okay, we made it away. We made it. We left the planet." After, of course, here's the scene where the chest burster. We first see a chest burster. Kane, the face hugger, falls off of Kane's face. He recovers, and they attempt to have one last group meal before they go back into deep sleep. And we realize that there is something alive in Kane, and it bursts out of his stomach. And that brings us to this scene right here, where they're all reacting to seeing the creature burst out of Kane's stomach. So they're all showing their terror here. And of course, Veronica Cartwright, she does her signature, "Oh God." She played that role really well. And then so that brings us to this scene, which is the background I used for this. Parker was actually the one who picked up the knife and wanted to kill the creature right there. But Ash, for any of you who've watched the movie, Ash says, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Let it go. And the thing, it screeches at all of them, and then it runs off. And later on, we find out that Ash is an android, and his job is to protect the creature and bring it back. After Kane dies, the rest of them go out looking for the creature in the ship, thinking it's the same size. They've got a net. They've got some kind of sparking device to, make it run into a corner and into the net. They find Ripley's cat, Jones, running around, gives them a false positive, and Brett lets the cat get away. And then Parker says, "What are you doing, man? Why'd you do that?" And they say, "Okay, well, go and find the cat." And Brett leaves on his own to go find the cat. And of course, that's when we find out he picks up the skin, and he says, "What's this?" Turns out the alien is shedding, and it's growing, and he's the first one to encounter the full-grown xenomorph. And after it kills Brett, they move to a scene where they zoom in on Parker, and he's saying, "Whatever it was big. It picked him up, carried him up into the shaft." And actually, in the director's cut, Parker and Ripley And I think it's Parker and Ripley. They show, because Brett yells when the jaws come slamming into him and the creature picks him up and he yells. In the director's cut, it shows Parker and Ripley running up, and they can, I guess they could see him being taken up into the shaft, but it also shows blood and water dropping onto the camera lens, and Parker yells out, "Brett!" Like that. In the actual theatrical cut, you don't see that. Whatever it is, it was big. And then, of course, so now we lose one member. And so now Dallas, the Captain Dallas, he says, okay, well, I'm going to go, just me. I'm going to go looking for it. So he gets his flamethrower, goes into the shaft looking for the alien. And of course, we know that the alien gets him. And then they cut immediately back to Parker putting Dallas's flamethrower on the table like that and saying, this is it. There's no more Dallas, just this. And that's when the terror of the situation really starts to unfold as they realize that two of their members have been killed off. They're on this ship with this creature that's gotten bigger. Two of the members have been killed off, and now it's killing them off one by one. And so remember, Lambert, who is the audience's fears, she's the one who says, well, I think we should just get on this ship and just get the hell out of here. We'll take our chances on the ship. She's crying and she's, like this. And Ripley says, okay, well, Lambert, the ship won't take 4 because there's 4 left at this point. And of course, Parker, and she says, well, why? Maybe we should just draw straws. And Parker says, you know what? Picks up the flamethrower. He says, I'm not for drawing straws. I'm for killing that goddamn thing right now. And he walks off. And again, the tension is rising. And Ripley says, she says, are you listening to me, Parker? Shut up. Like that. And Parker's standing over there mumbling with his flamethrower. She's got him in check temporarily. And he says, all right, let's hear it. Let's hear it. What do you want to do? And it was in that moment, guys, I'm almost done. Parker, in that moment, really reminded me of my best friend. My best friend's got this rebellious, take charge, I'm going to do what I want to do thing in certain situations. So that's during that scene, that's what the Parker character really, that's what Yaphet really channeled to me in that moment. He really reminded me of my best friend who has a rebellious nature at times. Okay, as the movie wears on, we find out that Ash is an android. And when Ripley finds out that the company actually sent them to that planet on purpose, Ash reveals that, yeah, this was all part of the plan from the beginning. And then he tries to kill her by shoving a magazine down her mouth and throwing her all over the place. And then he almost starts killing her. But Parker and Lambert show up, and Ash puts his claw on Parker's chest, and Parker starts whacking him with a tube, and we find out he's an android because his body starts coming apart and starts spraying this milk everywhere. But Parker's lines really stand out to me, because as Ash, they reactivate Ash, and he tells them, this is a perfect organism. You can't kill it, and the mission all along was to bring it back. And Parker says, well, the damn company, what about our lives? What about us? And Ash says, well, again, every other consideration is secondary to bringing the creature back. And then Ripley says, well, and this is a very sobering scene, because Ripley says, well, how do we kill it? And Ash says, you can't. You can't kill it. You still don't know what you're dealing with, do you? It's a perfect living organism. It's not driven by morality. It's not driven by feelings. It's not driven by delusions of grandeur. It's a survivor. And hearing all these things that's when Parker says, you know what, can we just like cut this? I don't want to hear this anymore. And that's when they decide, okay, well, we're going to get as many supplies as we can on the escape ship. I'm drawing a blank here. We'll just call it the escape ship. We're going to load as many supplies on the ship, and we'll take our chances, the three of us. And then as they're leaving, remember, Ash's head is sitting there, and his parts are strewn out everywhere, and there's like all this milk. Before he leaves, Parker turns and he burns all of it. So you see Ash's body and his head basically being put on fire, and his skin's peeling off, and those kinds of things. And then finally, the three of them split. Ripley goes to find the cat, and then Parker and Lambert go to get supplies, and they're making all kinds of noise. And then they show Lambert, she's getting supplies, and you see this big shadowy figure appear behind her, and she turns around like this, and she freezes. It's the creature, and she freezes, and she starts crying. She doesn't do anything proactive to try to save herself. She just sits there and starts crying. And Parker turns around and he sees it, and he's like, oh my God. Picks up his flamethrower, runs over there, and the creature turns around and gets him. And then they played music over the whole thing, but you see the creature's jaws shooting out into Parker, and you see blood coming from his mouth, and he's dying a grisly, painful death. And then they show the creature turn around and slowly walk towards Veronica Cartwright, Lambert, and then you can hear her screaming as Ripley's running to try to rescue them. And then when she gets there, they're dead, and you see Parker's body kind of bent over like this. But those were just memorable moments from that movie for me, especially as it relates to that character. And those lines, that movie, those lines, those scenes, the images, for me as a child, those are all etched into my memory. It's a classic film. And I just wanted to shoot this in remembrance of Yaphet Kotto. I didn't watch everything that he was in as I was born, in the mid 70s, but that one role, made a lasting impression on me. So I wanted to shoot this to say rest in power and salute to you, Yaphet Kotto. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. And I want to thank everyone who hung around for this. There's some folks from the sports channel who came over who I didn't expect to come over. My brother passed through. Tasha Ray passed through. If you haven't watched Alien, someone in there said they never saw it. I highly recommend seeing it. It's a classic film. And I'm going to stop this here because it's almost an hour. Hey, I just found out. Shout out to Valdez, the Angry Man. He did a review on the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, and I just found out that I have access to it on one of the apps from my cable provider. So I'm going to sit down and watch the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, this weekend, which is about 4 hours. We have a sports update here. Ohio State is about to lose. We'll have to talk about that in the morning over on my sports channel, Peanut Butter Hero. Thank you for that update. But I'm going to watch the Snyder Cut of the Justice League, which Angry Man says is about 4 hours long, but he says it's 4 hours that's worth it. So once I watch that, I'm going to come back and do a live stream on the Justice League Snyder Cut, because if it's as good as Angry Man says, then it's going to be worth doing a live stream. And the original movie in the theaters was highly criticized, and the original Justice League movie was at that time, it was very underwhelming, especially as Marvel was rolling out Avengers of Infinity War and Avengers Endgame and that whole thing. But according to what Angry Man says, this Justice League Snyder Cut is even better than Avengers Infinity War. I'm sorry, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. And that's saying a lot because those are two classic movies, in my opinion, themselves. All right, everyone. Thank you to those of you who watched and those of you who hang on. You too, gorgeous. Appreciate you being here as always. So I'm going to, of course, Tasha's going to have the gourmet food there as she watches it. She's a bit of a foodie. So gourmet donuts, gourmet popcorn, just gourmet, whatever. So, all right, everyone, I'm going to stop this here. Thank you all to those of you who hung out. Again, if you are into movies or books or old school cartoons like the Transformers or G.I. Joe or Thundercats or whatever, and you want to collaborate with me, my contact information, it could be books, comic books, anything. If you want to collaborate, because I don't have any collaborators over here, this is my contact information. There's a Big Words blog site Facebook page. That's my blogging platform, the Big Words blog site. There's a lot of business stuff there now. Early on, I did some movie reviews, but I haven't really done any of those lately. That's the Big Words blog site Facebook page. That's my Big Words Are Powerful Twitter account. And that's my Instagram. I can always use more followers on Instagram, though I only take pictures on Instagram when I have something funny to post or I have a nice shot of myself. So Tasha says, LOL, that's probably about her being a foodie. She every time she shows pictures, she's eating something. She has something really good. And I'm not saying she's eating it all, but she's probably sharing it with her family. But she has good stuff. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Again, please like, share, and subscribe if you want to throw something in the tip jar that's below this video. If you want to collaborate, reach out to me. And I'm going to check out what's happening in the college basketball tournament right now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Once again, rest in power, Yaphet Kotto, and thank you for all that you've done and for your brilliance on the silver screen and on Broadway. All right, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.